What up, infidels? Another week, another Brown. Good to see y'all. Good to be here. Dangerous Brown podcast. For those of you who are new, who are watching me from Houston for the first time, I just did Houston with Andy Letterman. Good to see y'all. Thank you for joining me on this podcast. I hope you enjoyed the show. And I'm glad you're able to tune in, man. I really appreciate any new infidels. That's what I call my fans. Any new infidels joining the fray. The sleeper cell is small but growing, as we say here at the Dangerous Brown podcast. It's small but growing. If you noticed after the shows, I never really pushed my podcast. I just pushed following me on Instagram. That's because, if I'm being honest, this podcast has basically become my open mic. So, I've been doing comedy for 9 years, and the longer I go on in the scene, the more I realize, I don't need to hit open mics as much. I kind of know what's funny to me. I kind of know what's sort of in my wheelhouse in terms of things I want to talk about. So I just talk about them on stage. But I need to get some ideas out in front of a mic for the first time, and that's why I am here to do this open mic. So that's why I don't push it, because this is very much an open mic podcast. I'm just going to be working through some stuff and talking about my week, Like I said, I did Houston. Houston was awesome. Houston, I will say this. In the time of high gas prices, I'm so happy that I have a Prius. It's it's not the manliest car, and it's a car that's easy to make fun of. That's fine. Make fun of it all you want. But you know what you can't make fun of? The 54 miles per gallon. You can't make fun of that, huh? 54 miles per gallon in this time of high gas prices. So clutch. So clutch. I drove over 300 miles this weekend. I still have gas in the tank. And it's good. These weeks where I'm not going to be on the road as much, maybe in July. June I'm on the road. If you want to see me, I'm in Toledo this weekend with Brian Simpson, the 17th and 18th, or the 18th and 19th, whenever the weekend is, Friday, Saturday. And then the next weekend, I am in San Antonio with Josh Wolf. So come out. There's plenty of chances to see me out on the road with some great comics. But the 54 miles per gallon, son. That's the thing. Everyone shits on the Prius, but a little bit of that's got to be the jealousy, right? A little bit of that's got to be like, man, this fucking guy getting 54 miles per gallon. It's insanity. It's just really. I got the Prius when I lived in Los Angeles because it was a great city car. If you live in a big city, it gets into those small spaces. In a crowded city, it gets into tight parking spaces really easily. That's what I enjoy about it. But also 54 miles per gallon. I drove to Houston and back, and driving all around. My hotel was 15 minutes away from the club, so I had to drive 15 minutes to the club back and forth for 3 days straight. Still. So it's 2.5 hours plus in the city. From the club to the hotel, that's another, hour and a half total driving. Plus the 2.5 hours back. So that's 2.5 hours plus 2.5 hours is 5 hours. Plus an hour and a half is... So 6.5 hours of straight driving this weekend. Still have gas in the tank. Yo, it's so funny that some people are like, well, do I want to save money or be made fun of? And do I want to save money and be made fun of? Or do I want to be cool and waste a bunch of money? And people will so often choose the be cool and waste a bunch of money. I love it, dude. But you know what? At the same time, I get it. You only live once. Might as well be cool. The Prius is not a cool car. I will say that. I used to date a girl in LA that every time she got into my Prius, she would laugh. Because it was like a Prius. I will say this. It's not a sexy car. No one ever goes, look at that sex icon in that Prius C. You know what sex symbols drive? Hatchbacks. I do get that. But 54 miles per gallon? I'll take that over my sex symbol status. My emerging sex symbol status will have to take a background at 54 miles per gallon. I'm sorry, pretty much fellas that listen to this. You don't get the sex symbol that you want. Because I will stay, dude. That money. But yeah. So I mean, I'm sure my Prius with the California plates is so popular here in Texas. Someone asked me too, why don't I change the plates? Because I've been in Texas for a while, and my legal address is my parents' house back in California, and it's because I get to be on like dope healthcare. Well, my legal address is still in California, so I have one more year of dope healthcare before I'm like, all right, time to change the Texas place and try to figure out how to stay alive. Man, it's crazy that the game plan for here in America is just like don't get sick. It's either don't get sick to keep all your money. It's wild. We're so rich. How is that even possible? How is it that like cancer can like bankrupt you? That's pretty crazy, right? You know what's funny? When you argue, when you say what, like I've noticed this. When I say stuff like, maybe, if you get cancer, that shouldn't ruin you financially for the rest of your life. Maybe. And people are like, what are you, a fucking socialist? Are you a communist? And it's like, what? Yo, I don't like this fact that, like, when you point out flaws in the system, people think that you want to be a communist. And it's like, that's not what I said. I didn't say redistribute the wealth for equally to everybody. I said it's weird that this is happening, right? That people are just losing their entire life savings because they got cancer. We're the only developed nation where that happens. And maybe we should do something to fix it. I don't feel like that makes me a communist. Sometimes I feel like people confuse communism and basic human decency. Because I would not describe myself as a communist at all. But when I say stuff like that, when I say like, oh, maybe teachers should get paid more, people are like, what are you, a communist? I'm like, no, I just, have empathy. That's so confusing. Also, when you when you mention problems in the system we got, people are like, well, what do I hear? And people are like, what are you, a communist? It's like, just because communism sucks does not mean there's no problem with our system. I also find that very weird when people are like, oh, communism never works. Yeah, fine. But what's happening now isn't working. There's something wrong. Corporations have too much power. Right now, oil companies are fighting against climate change action, and we're in the middle of 20 straight days in June of over 100 weather. But if we want to stop that from happening, we're a communist? No, we just don't want to dry up. Dude, I can't wait till we get to the point, because it's happening more and more, that when all these private companies like own our water supply and we just got to pay like a monthly water fee now to drink water, people will be like, man, water should be free. And other people will be like, what are you, a communist? And it's like, no, that's basic human decency. I hate being called a communist for like pointing out flaws in the system. That's insane. You know what it is? Calling someone a communist is the same like someone who did, like, just because they disagree with you doesn't mean they want to change in social order, dude. But anyways, okay. What do I want to talk about first? I want to talk about Warriors. Just won Game 5. Shout out Warriors. Andrew Wiggins. Thank you. You're a god. And that's why I like the Warriors. On a night, and this is really what championship DNA is. On a night when your best players are playing shitty, Steph couldn't hit a shot, it felt like, to save his life. He was 0 from 6 from 3. Bullied by the defense. couldn't get any separation. There was a block from the back on a 3 in the third quarter that was crazy. He did not play up to the Curry standard, and the Warriors still eked it out. And that's championship DNA right there. When your best player is playing off, can you win the game? Because right now, Boston, if Tatum turns the ball over like 6 times, they're not winning. And Boston, I think, is the better team. Boston is the better team. Boston is the better team, but they don't have that, bro. They don't have that mental edge. They haven't played in the finals before. Like, they don't know what it's like to be a champion, and that's a mental hurdle. To win a championship in a professional sport, in a gladiator type situation, it doesn't matter if you're better on paper. Is your mental game tip top? And right now, it just does not feel Boston's is. Also, Tatum was doing this whole thing where he was comparing himself to Kobe so much. Dude, it was so cringe. It was so lame. I get that you texted Kobe, like, I got this before Game 7, but don't show the world that. Don't post it on Twitter like, look what I texted Kobe, and then change your Instagram profile to, like, you copying a Kobe pose and dressing like Kobe at one of your practices. It's like, oh, what are you, Macklemore at the Grammys? Remember when Macklemore texted Kendrick, like, these Grammys should be yours, and then posted it on Twitter? Ugh. Gross. Do it without showing everybody, because it is not genuine. Let other people create the narrative for you that you're Kobe. Don't let you try to push the narrative that you're Kobe and then turn the ball over 1,000,000 times. Hey, you know what Kobe never did? Turn the ball over 100 times in the playoffs, which I think it feels like you're getting there. 100 times. Not 100 times, obviously, but, like, whatever. Just turnover machine. But the Warriors won without their best player. And that's sort of, you know, that's the mark of any kind of winner. Whether it be comedy. I realize this works in comedy. It's like if you're not having your best set, can you still show up and get the job done? Can you still show up and, like, so first show in Houston, on first show, so Friday early show, I didn't feel like I had the best set, but I feel like I got off stage and it was like, these people were entertained. I did my job. Championship level play. You know, maybe I'm being a little hyperbolic and a little tooting my own horn, but I felt like they were entertained, and I did my job, and that's what you do when you're not on your game. Can you get the job done? And the Warriors proved that they can do that, and that's important. That's big. Man, I just keep hearing about Houston because Houston was so great. You were so great. The audiences, Annie's audiences are amazing. I love her. I love her opening bit. And yeah, it's nice. It's nice, man. It's nice. You know, after years of going out with someone who was or a year of going out with someone who was you know, I'll say a guest in the comedy world. It's nice to go out with, like, no, Annie is a real deal comedian. And that's a nice feeling. Not to say the other feeling wasn't great. Don't get me wrong. I had plenty of great experiences the first time around. But a real deal comedian, that's a whole different thing. That's a whole different thing. And it was dope. It was a dope weekend. Got to feature, you know, just starting to feature my career. I'm 9 years in, you know, so that's like, it's kind of late to start featuring. But, you know, I'm just, sometimes you just got to play with the cards you're dealt. And I got the 9 years in featuring dealt cards, and I'm trying to do the best I can with it. And I appreciate it. Hopefully I'll be able to there's at least one clip from the last show on Sunday where I talk about Deshaun Watson that got a big reaction. I want to post that on Instagram. And you've seen me talk about it here on this podcast. Like I said, this podcast is for me to work out bits. And we're going to get started right now. So I have 2 bits today, and this will probably be a short episode. Again, just, you know, these episodes now, I used to be like, I try to hit an hour, but now, you know, just for the long-time listeners, I am focusing on just pretty much the quick talk about my week up top, and then going over the bits, and then that'll be kind of it, keeping it kind of short. And then if I think of anything that'll be fun to talk about, I'll think of something that's fun to talk about. But yeah. So also, people that are new, This is also a little bit of a tone shift from my previous episodes. What is it? I don't know. Get the yawn out of the way. Am I going to edit that out? No. Again, because this is the open mic of podcasting. All right. So, idea number 1. All right. So, here's this theory I have. Right? This is a theory that I have. And if you might have heard me bring it up on Hans Kim's Green Room podcast if you watched that. But this is the theory for those of you who didn't watch that. So since the turn of the century, since the 2000s, and we'll include Columbine in this, there have been an average of around 15 school shootings a year. 15 school shootings a year since the turn of the century. Now, what do they say about these kids that commit these school shootings? They say that they're incels. They say they can't get laid. They say, they can't talk. They have hard time talking to women. That sort of stuff. That was famously the UC Santa Barbara shooter. That was his whole thing. Women don't look at me or whatever the fuck that loser was saying. Right? They say these guys are incels. Now, also, since the turn of the century, the Boston Globe exposed the Catholic priest's child abuse scandal. And now there has been a greater increase in scrutiny in how the church deals with minors. And I can only imagine what's a good way to put this? Their diddling numbers have gone down. They're kind of like James Harden. They're in the back end of their diddling career. Not that James Harden's a diddler. I don't want to. That's not what I'm saying. It's just James Harden's a basketball player. He diddles your hopes and dreams if you're a James Harden fan, but he don't diddle no children. Right? So, turn of the century, 15 school shootings per year. Turn of the century, also in more scrutiny towards the Catholic Church. Diddling numbers presumably have gone down. So, my theory is, what if Catholic priests were the heroes that we needed this whole time? All I'm saying is that when kids were getting laid, there was a little less shooting going on. So maybe they aren't the bad guys, and maybe they're actually doing the Lord's work. That's the theory. That's the theory. It seems like too much of a coincidence that all this stops when they stop. It seems like something's off about that. Am I wrong? Just some Catholic priest, just please, Father, give me the strength I need to fuck this kid so he won't kill other kids. Maybe they were just good at picking out, because, I don't know. If you're an altar boy, you're already on your way to being a loser, right? Me knowing nothing about I know nothing about altar boys. But you're clearly on your way to being a loser, right? Who wants to be, God's hall monitor? That doesn't seem like a very... I don't know. It doesn't seem like a very... if I had to guess, the amount of cool kids that were also altar boys are pretty low. So maybe these priests were like, oh man, I just got to mess with his mind enough that he don't even think about doing what I see he's thinking about doing. And that would explain why they're shuffling them around everywhere. Instead of sending them to jail or kicking him out of the church. You can't kick out a hero, especially when you're the only one who knows that he's a hero. That's why the current pope was directly involved in shuffling these people around, because he was like, man, these people are out here doing the Lord's work and helping the communities in ways that you couldn't even imagine, putting their souls on the line to make sure the community is fine. The Diddling Priest Association. putting our souls on the line so the community is fine. Oh, it's a text from God, and I'm canceled. But I don't know. Maybe. That's just a theory. I didn't say I'm right. That's just a theory. It got me thinking about the movie. If you guys never seen Spotlight, you should watch Spotlight. That is a fucking movie, dude. Because they're like, oh, maybe like only 90. So they find out, and over the course of, so this is the Spotlight is about the Boston Globe's uncovering of basically how big this sort of child abuse scandal in the Catholic Church went. And they were like, oh, there were 90 priests in Boston that had to be shuffled around because of child abuse accusations. And then the list was even more than that. And at the end, they list how many priests from each city had to be shuffled around. And it is mind-boggling. When you first heard of Jeffrey Epstein and you were like, he had a fucking island, at the end of Spotlight, you're going to be like, what? An island is much more preferable than what you're seeing at the end of that movie. I'll tell you that. That's Epstein's lawyer's argument. Like, look, it was just an island. It was just an island. The church had the church looked at child abuse and was like, manifest destiny. That's way worse than an island. But that shit, I remember being in the theater and there was a guy just transfixed at the screen and just was like shaking and like sort of like I would only describe it as a PTSD flashback, and he was like, damn, he had to watch this movie to get over some stuff. He had to watch this movie to get over some stuff. But yeah, so that's my fun little theory. That's my little positive little like nice theory about you know, what I think, you know? But yeah, I might clip this up. This is me just talking out loud. I might just clip up these sections and release it. I gotta figure out what I want to do with this Instagram channel or this YouTube channel. Keep releasing this as a podcast or like to break it up. I don't know. We'll see. I'm thinking about it, talking out loud. Just go topic by topic. All right. Second thing I want to talk about. The Patriot Front. So, I saw this on Twitter. So, this white nationalist group called the Patriot Front got arrested in Idaho. 31 of them, and they got arrested for what? Trying to incite a riot at a pride parade. But it's so funny to me that they hate this pride parade. So, like think about this as a thought. Just as a thought. Like, I hate the pride parade. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to get 31 dudes, put them in the back of the U-Haul, make them wear masks, and have them dress the same to go to this pride parade. And it's like, yo, that's the gayest thing I've ever heard. Like anyone at this point, anyone who agreed to this part of that group has to be, there's got to be at least a bunch of secret gay guys in that group who can't handle it. Absolutely. There's no way that plan sounds perfect to everybody without somebody in there being like, isn't it a little gay? Like somebody who actually doesn't like homosexuals to be like, that's bad. We shouldn't do this. That's gay. 31 dudes. They were so lucky they didn't take a wrong turn because they were like one wrong turn away from being part of a float. From just being a float. Being like, ooh, this float, they're doing some white pride aesthetic. Interesting. You go, girls. Or, you know? They were one turn away. God, so funny. You know how we're gonna let these gay guys know what's up? By bringing no pussy ourselves. But no, of course. I mean, of course, there's no women, dude. They release the faces of all those dudes. Every single one of those dudes is wholly unfuckable. It's crazy. I was like, for a while, I was like, how do you get this many just unattractive people in one go to go somewhere? Like, you would think 31 people. You think you would hit on one attractive person, and then I read that the Patriot Front, the group that they're all part of, was started on a Discord channel, and I was like, there it is. There it is. There it is. I was like, something's up. Something's wrong. And I was like, there. That's why the Patriot Front looks like that. Started on a Discord channel. Dude, ain't nothing more dangerous than an untalented, undersexed white guy who believes the world he deserves the world. Because I read this. I read about the Patriot Front. They said America is betrothed to them from their ancestors. That's part of their thing. It's theirs. Their ancestors conquered America, therefore it's theirs. Completely not thinking bro, if you're losers, you've been conquered. Completely thinking just because their ancestors conquered the land in the past, it makes them theirs now. No, that's how that works. Your land got taken away from you again because you weren't strong enough to hold it this time. And bro, if you think gay people are replacing you, that means you think you're gay. Right? If you think gay people are replacing you, you are gay. And there's nothing wrong with that. But the way you act about it is definitely wrong. Yeah, it was so funny. So funny. Just, dude, the Patriot Front is so gay. So gay. Let's all wear matching khakis and go to the Pride Parade. Let's go, guys, from a bunch of different states. Let's get together and pack ourselves in a U-Haul where our bodies are so close together and we're all hot and sweaty and we can't help but we have to rub up on each other a lot because there's no space. I don't want to rub up on you, but there's no space. So but every time we do rub up on each other, it's super. It's forbidden and it's naughty and I don't know. Did I touch it? I'm not hard. That's a gun. I'm not hard. I'm not hard. That's a gun. Kiss me in this U-Haul. Nobody will know. Nobody, not to wear masks. They think we're talking, but we can make sweet love. Let's just have an orgy. Let's just have an orgy in this van. Dude, so gay. So gay. Not that there's anything wrong with it. Just, hey, accept it. Accept it. Man, oh man. But yeah, so this is it. So I guess in terms of, this is long-term infidels in terms of how the podcast is going to go. So I did talk about my theory. I did talk about the Patriot Front. I think from here on out, whenever I have these ideas, I'm just going to record them and release them maybe. And, because now I've been releasing every Wednesday, but there's there's a lot of stuff going on. But maybe I won't. Who knows? I will tell you this though. That's what I'm going to call this episode. The Patriot Front is gay because they are, and they need to accept it. And that's why I'm making fun of them. Not because they're gay. It's because they can't accept it. And that's no self-awareness. You should make fun of that. You got to make fun of no self-awareness. You can't let these not self-aware people go on and just do whatever they want because then they create domestic terrorist groups, apparently. Apparently, that's a thing they do when they're not aware. Dude, So gay, dude. All right. That's all I'm gonna do for this week. These are the only sort of thoughts that I had. Look out for the Deshaun Watson clip when it comes. I'm trying to start this Bible series thing. I'm looking for a sponsor right now. I've never had anything sponsored before, so I'm trying to see if something can sponsor me. It's just like a one-time deal. So if any of you guys are interested in a sponsor, hit me up. And we can talk about like what you want me to promote and how you want me to promote it. I had one for a second and then they dropped out. So I'm looking for a sponsor for a Bible study thing I want to do on Instagram. You know, because I do a bunch of stuff on Instagram. I do with Special Report. I do the Daisy Reacts. But the Bible thing is something that I want to do as well. So I love you guys. I love you, Infidels. Thank you, New Infidels, for joining. We'll see you next week. And, next week I'll have more stuff to talk about or new jokes to go over. I think the Patriot Front could probably end up in the act, and that's something that I'd have to just film right away and then get rid of. But I do want to work on this Catholic priests are the heroes we need. They're the Batman of our universe, of our actual universe. But other than that, guys, thank you so much for joining me this week. I'll see you next week. Later.